hello. Good afternoon. You guys, thank you for joining me today. My name is Lorraine Fajala, and I am the owner of Lorraine's Gluten-Free. If you are in the East Coast, good afternoon, like I said, but if you're on the West Coast, I guess it's still good morning. And then if you're on the other side of the world, good evening. So today we're going to make dumplings, and this is Chinese dumplings. I know that there's a lot of different varieties of dumplings out there. There's the Korean, Chinese, dumplings as well, gyoza. And so we're going to make the typical Chinese dumplings wrapper today. However, you can use that for all the other dumplings as well that you're craving. So we're going to make our fillings first. You actually have the recipes, I believe. It's PDF downloadable or something like that the folks at Nourished Festival had made available to you. So we're going to jump into the dumplings first so that it's marinating a little bit while we do our wrapper. Okay, so we're going to start with 1.5 pounds of ground pork, and you kind of want the higher fat on the ground pork because you want that juiciness from the pork to release once you're eating your dumplings. And you can use this with turkey. You can also use chicken combination with pork, and you can also use pork combination with shrimp. So it's very versatile. If you are vegetarian, you can use firm tofu, right? And you basically just smushed it. That way it has the consistency of ground meat. And then you can mix all your ingredients together. So I'm going to use chopsticks today. So to this, we're going to add a whole bunch of kind of well chopped up scallions or green onions. Add that in here. And then I'm going to add spinach. And the spinach, what I did was the Savoy spinach. You can use the frozen spinach like I had mentioned on the recipe. You can also use Napa cabbage. You just have to salt it, drain it, and then squeeze the water out. So if you use the frozen spinach, you want to make sure that you thaw it and it's, thoroughly thawed. And then you put it in a cheesecloth and you squeeze all the liquid out because you don't want all the excess liquid in your dumplings. You want to taste the aroma. You want to taste the pork. You want to taste the filling and all of the different flavors that you add in. So we're going to put in our chopped spinach here. And I finely minced this one. I like my dumplings to have a little bit more vegetable than meat in there. You can also use Chinese chives. I don't know if you guys have been to the Asian grocery stores, but the Chinese chives are basically like this long, and they are flat in looking. It's not like the American chives where it's short and then round and it's really cute, but these are flat and it has the really, really strong kind of like oniony garlic aroma. But I just love that one. And then we're going to add to this bowl kind of like one bunch of, I call them mung bean noodles. So I'm going to show you what I use. I've also added some references on the PDF that you received. So I don't know if you guys can read this. So it's bean vermicelli. So it's made from those, green little beans, and they call them glass noodles as well. So you want to soak this in warm water for about 20 minutes, and then you chop it out really finely. And I'm going to show you what that looks like right here. If you can see, basically like about less than an inch. If you can go smaller, go smaller. But it comes in these little bags like these, and then it comes in, separate ones like this as well. So I just love using this. I use it for noodles, everything that I need, a little slurping. Okay, so from here, we're going to add 1 egg. All right. All right, oops, forgot this one. So we'll add this guy's in. 1 egg. Clean up my stuff here. And then we're going to put in a little bit of water. Okay. And then we're going to add in our ginger. So this is like a thumb-sized ginger. And most of you know how to peel your ginger, but basically you just get a spoon and then you just kind of peel it like this. And that fine papery, I would say, kind of peel will come right off. You see how easy that is? I'm making a big mess here, but it's really fun. We're cooking today, and I just want to, thank you guys for joining me in my kitchen. This is kind of like my happy place. This is where magic happened in the Lorraine's gluten-free world. So we need about a teaspoon of these. Ginger, you can add more if you like. So a lot of the dumpling flavor it's up to you. Like, how do you want it? How do you want to customize it? What does your family like, right? And then so my family, we love different kinds. So it just depends on our mood. Chives is our all-time favorite. But we also love it with spinach, and that's the good way for you to hide vegetables for your littles. And, because it's just a little pocket of goodness, I'd say. So I think that's about enough right there. All right. Okay, so we have that. And then I'm going to show you this little trick that we do in Asian cooking, is that chicken bouillon is your best friend, right? So I found this in the grocery store. I didn't know that they had pockets, but it's herb ox, and it's gluten-free. This one is no sodium, which is good, so we can control our sodium, right? And I love it. It comes in powder form, but this one is in pockets, which is like amazing. And I think it's about 1 teaspoon per pocket. So we're going to use 2 of these, or you can do 2 cubes. If you find the cube ones in the store, you basically just like smash it or something and then make it into a powder so you can put it all over your little mixture. So we're gonna go ahead and do this. And this is gonna add that beautiful flavor once our dumplings have this nice juicy juice flowing from inside, depending on how we cook it. But I'm so excited to do this for you guys today, because it's been a while since I made dumplings at home. And then from here, we're gonna use the white pepper. And then so I wanted to talk about this a little bit, because you see a lot of white pepper in the store and also in the Asian store. So just be careful for Asian store white pepper, because sometimes they have additives in there, and sometimes it's flour, because it prevents it from caking and that stuff like that. So I just go for McCormick. McCormick is like the trusted, spices for gluten-free, right? And then so we're just gonna eyeball it. Just a little dash right there. You can do less or more. And I like the aroma of white pepper. It kind of reminds me of pork, but it's still good. It's still good. All right, so from here, we're going to add in our cooking wine. Cooking wine is like, it elevates the flavor of the juice in that dumpling, right? I know on the PDF, I said white rice cooking wine, white cooking wine, or white wine. Any white wine that you would drink, you can put a little bit in there. But the sherry cooking wine, this is good for everything. Stir fry for this one as well, for dumplings. So we're just going to put a little bit of that. Okay. And then we're going to put in a little bit of our sesame oil. And this is the toasted sesame oil that you can use. We'll put that in there just a little bit. Okay. And then I think, and if I'm missing something, there's a lot of different ingredients that goes into this, and I just want to make sure that I don't miss it. So we're going to use 1 tablespoon of soy sauce. And again, this is another layer of the umami flavor that you'd find. So about 1 tablespoon of that. All right. Okay, so I think that's it. I think we have all the ingredients in here, right? So we're going to mix this up. Use your chopsticks if you want, and then you just kind of swirl it around until it comes together. Or you can get like your little handy, trusty gloves that you have, and then you can make it work that way. So I have these little black gloves, and then I'll just kind of like show you how that's done. And then this little guy's right here is going to wait on us while we process and make our dumpling wrapper. And you'll see how easy this whole thing comes together. But this is fun, you can have like a little dumpling party with your friends when you're when you're having a party, and you guys can all sit together at the table, make fun, amazing dumplings. And you can, like do a little filling, like I said, different fillings that you want in there, like vegetarian if they want to. And of course, if you're vegetarian, you can find probably like a vegetable base or something like that to kind of add it in the filling, so it has a lot more flavor to it. Okay, here we go. So we used to live in Singapore. Gosh, it's been a while. I think about 8 years ago. My husband, it was kind of like a, like a foodie town, and it was just one of those places that we're gonna go back to just to eat. But it's just amazing how the different varieties of dumplings that you find in the kind of a hawker center that's out there, and in the food stalls and stuff. But I do miss that time that we have over there. My son loves it. He was a little young man when we went, but now he's a teenager. So, it's one of those places that is near and dear to our heart. But okay, so you can smell all the aroma in this mix. I mean, I know this is, and I'm hoping that we have a smell-o-vision so you can smell it. But when you start making this filling, the whole house is basically going to smell amazing. It has kind of like a sweet, I don't know how to describe it, but it's like a sweet, like just yummy goodness flavor that is just like you just can't wait to pop them in your mouth. But this is really, really good. Okay, so that looks pretty darn good, I would say, like how it's kind of coming together. So it's not dry, right? So you don't want a dry dumpling filling. You want it to be kind of pasty a little bit. So all the juices, like I said, will be released into your little dumpling wrapper when you eat them. And then it just has this beautiful flavor. So I can't wait to try this today. We're going to do a couple of methods of cooking it. And, hopefully we'll have time to kind of get all this different stuff that I want to talk about today. Okay, so that's our filling. We're going to set that aside and then have it marinate and just get happy, right? And then now we're going to use our little machine over here, food processor. So from here, we're going to make our dumpling wrapper. Would you ground flaxseed and oil for substitute eggs? So if you don't like egg or you can't have egg, I would just omit that. And what you can do is add a little bit of cornstarch into the filling, maybe about 2 teaspoons, and then just kind of work that in. So it's kind of like making, little gluten-free meatballs per se. So the egg just kind of helps it kind of come together. It's additional protein and it kind of gives it that tender flavor. I would of your filling. So if you don't want egg, just set it aside and not put it in. What brand of gluten-free soy sauce would you recommend? I use Kikkoman. Kikkoman, and also what's the other? There's another. You can use tamari as well, right? Or coconut amino. Those are good for substitute for soy sauce. So anything that's light soy sauce. We're going to add 1 1/4 cup of gluten-free flour. Oh, here it is. All right, we're going to put 1 1/4 cup of gluten-free flour. I'm going to turn this guy off right here. I have water boiling for when we actually make our dumplings. Okay, so 1 1/4 quarter. And this wrapper recipe and the method is so forgiving, you guys. You can't mess it up, and then you'll see. You'll see. Okay, so the gluten-free flour I use does not have any bean to it, no nuts or anything like that, because I think that changes it. So you want a gluten-free flour that's kind of 1-to-1 or something that can work, like without any greediness. I'm using Lorraine's gluten-free flour, obviously. So this is our bag right here, and we have a booth. And you can go and check us out and then see how it's how you like our product. So that's one, and then so that's what we have. So 1 cup, and I'm going to put in 1/4 of a cup. Okay, and then you want 3/4 of a cup of glutinous rice flour, which is like a sweet rice flour, and this will give it the little chew with the dumpling, right? So when you bite into it, it just doesn't fall apart or anything like that, but it'll have that light, QQ. That's what the youngins call them now. It's just really fun. All right, so we're gonna put 3/4 of a cup, and you don't have to use the specific brand. I think Bob's Red Mill or something like that carries glutinous rice flour, and it's also called sweet rice flour, and that'll work too. Okay. Sounds very deceiving, right? Glutinous. I'm like, no, we're not supposed to eat that, but it works. Okay, so that's 3/4, and then I'm going to put in about 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt into this bowl. All right, that's fantastic. I think that works. I'm going to clean up my work area here because we need that. And then I'm going to put in my mixing bowl about 3/4 of a cup of hot water. So when you do this, just be careful because, you know, you don't want ketos helping you mix your wrapper because it can get in. 3/4 of a cup, and use a measuring cup because we're going to stream this into our little food processor, right? Okay, oops. And then we also need, I'm going to just do 1 tablespoon. And I know that on that recipe that you guys received, it says 2 tablespoons. We're going to do 1 for now, and then we can add some more in if we need to, right? Okay. Just to kind of mix all our flour together. Okay. All right. And then we're going to add in 2 tablespoons of oil. And I'm going to put that in here in the hot water. Just kind of makes it easier just for today. But, you know, you can follow the instructions that you've received if you want to do that. I use avocado oil, by the way, because it's neutral and I think it's better for me. Okay. So I'm going to keep this on pulse. I was just pulsing a little bit. And then now I'm going to just steam that and then so it looks like really wet sandpaper. And the hot water will help the glutinous rice flour to kind of come together. All right, so I'm going to open this up and then see what the texture looks like. You see how it's very soft. And it's like it's softer than Play-Doh, right? But I think I'm good with that hydration, the water that we have on there. Put a little bit more, whatever oil I have left over there. Okay. All right, so now we're gonna dump this into our work surface. All right, here we go. And it helps a lot if you have one of these guys. These are like little, you know, Silpat or whatever it is that you have at home. It all works the same way. If you don't have any of these, you can use parchment paper as well, right? So we'll do that. And you want a generous amount of flour. Okay. What I do is kind of like dump a little bit on my corner right here and then just get in there. This is fun. This is when the kids can help when you start putting this together. Okay. All right. I'm going to put that in here. I'm going to grab a spatula. Something I forgot. Okay, here we go. Clean up the bottom. Just scrape the sides. Now, some parts when you dump this on here, some may be a little bit water, right? Because it didn't mix in thoroughly. But we're going to go ahead and mix that once we start kind of like incorporating. I hate to use the word need because we really don't need gluten-free flour. But okay, so there's that. I'm going to use this guy right here. Kind of scrape it. You see how it's just like, it's like a little dough. Okay, so flour. And then just incorporate the wet stuff or the areas that's a little bit more stickier than the other, right? Now, this is not going to feel hot. It's just going to feel warm to the touch. Feels kind of good, actually. I'm in Maine, and it's a little colder. It's getting colder. I don't know where everybody's from, but all right. So can you get organic glutinous rice flour? I believe you can. You can actually, Bob's Red Mill, I think, has organic rice flour, or you can go to Amazon. You can find them there. All right. And then is there a substitute for my brand flour? I'm not sure. Not all gluten-free flour are alike, obviously, right? And I have used a lot of different ones. I can't guarantee the results of this dumpling wrapper if you use any other flour because I've only used it with mine. And also this wrapper was also developed with Lorraine's gluten-free flour. So, but there is some dumpling wrapper out there. It is a different type, like hargao, right? And that's made with tapioca or rice flour. It doesn't have the chew that you're looking for, but it's very translucent. Okay. This looks good. All right, so a couple of stuff, right? A couple of options for you to actually make your wrapper. Your rice paper wraps. Rice paper wraps. Rice paper wraps. You can get them. Amazon has them as well, so you can also purchase rice paper wraps there. So you can do. You can divide your dumpling dough in half, and then you can roll this in long kind of log. And then I'm just going to show you a couple of options that you can do, and then you can cut them, right? And then when you do it like this, you can use like a little rolling pin. I like to use this little guy because it doesn't stick. And you want to make sure that you have enough flour in your surface to do this. And then you just flatten it out. And you want about 3 3¼ to 3½. Okay. All right. So that's what your dumpling would look like. And this is not going to break on you. It's going to hold together whatever filling that you put in there, right? So that's one option. Another option is this, which I'm going to show you, and it does require additional tools like the cookie cutter, and I'm using a 3¼ cookie cutter right there, 3¼ inch. Okay, so we'll get this flattened out, and if you get this little kind of folds and stuff, you know, you can work in your dough if you want to, but really, it's gonna kind of glue together anyway. So you want to make sure everything is floured, right? And that's important because we're working with really sticky, kind of like warm flour. Okay, here we go. So you're gonna roll this about 1/16 of an inch, kind of like in thickness. And this one batch of gluten-free, like a dumpling dough, actually makes about 40 different wrapper, which is good. Now you can yield less depending on what you're making. Like if you're folding it differently than what I'm going to show you, then you're going to need like a bigger cookie cutter, right? Okay. It doesn't seem like it's a lot, but you have to make sure it's thin, because if it's too thick, then your dumpling is going to be like really doughy, and you're going to have a lot of, dumpling dough to filling ratio. It's not going to be right. So, okay. See, I mean, this is when the kids can get involved in this whole process. This is how my son started eating spinach because, he didn't like anything green, but I'm like, help me make dumplings. And he was 6 at the time. And then, so I made him, fill some of his dumplings. He made little bags and purses and squares and circles. However your kids want to make them, let them be, because, they eat what they make, right? And so, okay, so he loves that. All right, so that's one. So this guy's right here, if you're not using them, cover them with a damp paper towel. That way it doesn't dry out. So I'm going to show you what I did yesterday. So I made a batch yesterday, and I just wrapped them in saran wrap. And then so it'll keep for like the next day. Like if you want to make this ahead of time, you can do that. And then it'll, again, keep the next day. Just wrap it and make sure it doesn't dry out, because they are partially cooked with the warm water, right? So we're going to do that. Flour, the one that I use is available on our website, lorrainesglutenfree.com. We have a booth during Nourished Festival, so come visit us. We are giving away a KitchenAid mixer for the holiday, and it is my appliance of choice because everything that I make that's gluten-free is made in a mixer. And then so I just thought, you know what, let's just give some away, make people happy and feel joy during the holiday. Okay, so I did 3, 6, 9, so 10 with this one roll. And then so I'm going to remove all this other pieces. Okay, and then just combine that with the other one. Put that on the side. So we want the damp paper towel. We have one right here. Just kind of get it wrapped up because I don't want to dry that one out. Okay, put that aside. All right, so here it is. This is about 3 This one rolling pin is a fondant rolling pin. I forgot who makes them. I got them at Michael's. You can use the dough on other processes, not for pie crust or pizza dough, because it's going to be tough. There's no leavening in this dough. This is just strictly for dumpling. You can make chicken and dumplings out of them, like the Southern restaurants, classic chicken and dumpling, that kind of thing. And it will be delicious because it has that consistency and the chew. Okay, so here's our little filling. And then what we're going to do is we're going to fill it with about a teaspoon to a wrapper. We're going to fill it with about 2 teaspoons of filling, 1 to 2 teaspoons, right? All right, so maybe less than that too, if you want it to be a little bit smaller. So we're going to do that right here. All right. Okay, so from here, you are going to need some water. Oh, get my water over here. Let me just get some real quick. Okay. It's a lot. This was fun. Oops. Sorry, I disappeared for a second. So you need your filling, and then if you have a little brush, like a painter's brush, you can use that. Just kind of run water on the edges of your wrapper. And then so when you fold it like this, okay? And then this is how you make that beautiful kind of pleat. So you take this one side and then fold it in, and then you take the other side and then fold that in. And then you're gonna do the same thing, right? So it's like a little fan. Okay, and then one more, and you fold that in right there. Okay, I don't know if you guys see that, but. And then don't be afraid to kind of squeeze them together too. It's not going to break on you. If it does, then you can patch it up. Okay, so that's one. So these freezes very, very well. What we do is line them up on a baking pan like this, right? And then put them in a freezer. Once it's hard and frozen, then you can put it in a zip bag, and then you'll have dumplings anytime you want to, right? All right, so that's one. I'm going to make maybe about 6 of this. That way I can show you guys. So what I'm doing is basically thinning out the edges of the dumpling wrapper, because remember, once we fold it, it's going to get a little thicker. So we want to kind of like a consistency in the texture and also the thickness of the dough all around. So we're going to do that. And then get my little spoon. Okay, this is so good. It's been a while since we made this, and making it today is just like, oh, we're going to stock up in our household. All right, we're going to fold it in half. Actually, we're going to get our brush again and just kind of brush a little bit of water all around, and that'll help seal it, right? And then you fold it in half, and then you're going to take this, I would say about 3/4 of a way, and fold it, and then the end, you just kind of crimp it like that. Okay, so you can see how fun this is for little kids to do, right? It's like, oh, I made that. you can do all that fun stuff with them. All right, so we're gonna do a little bit more here, because we're gonna use the fresh batch to make kind of like a lace dumplings. That's when it has that really nice crunchy kind of lace texture at the bottom. I guarantee if you make that for your family and friends, they're going to be so amazed, because like it's so easy to make. And you've seen a lot of restaurants make something fancy like that, and you kind of wonder, how do they do that? So I'm going to show you how that's done. All right. So, okay. So once again, I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And now while I'm doing this, I can probably hop in and answer some questions. What you freeze them? Do you defrost? Oh yeah. So once you freeze them, when you freeze them, you can boil your water and then dump them in the water as soon as your water is boiling. You don't defrost them, because sometimes your dough can get weepy from the excess kind of moisture that's coming out of them. All right. So I'm going to turn on my burner back here because I'm gonna boil some of the dumplings for our Szechuan style. All right, so I'm gonna do like maybe 2 more just to kind of make it even. All right, so any questions while I'm doing this? You can shoot away for now and then, just curious where everyone's coming from. Anyone here from out of state? Do we have out of the country rather? Do we have anyone from Asia or Europe? This is so good. I'm so thankful for Nourished Festival and their team that puts this together for us because we can connect even in the middle of the pandemic. I can show you guys how to make something that that your family will probably start hopefully using. So this dumpling recipe is so versatile, like I said, and you can even use it in a soup. So if you have kind of like a favorite soup base that you make, like chicken base or anything like that, then what you do is boil this in a separate water. And then once it's cooked, you can put it in your chicken broth. And then you can add in a ton of different and fun vegetables like baby bok choy. You can add in little spinach if you want. Carrots in your little dumpling soup is amazing. I even add green beans in it. And so it's very hearty when you do that because it has all the different vegetables that you can do. And then you can make like a little simple dipping sauce. And I'll show you how to do that too later on. All right, so I think I've got a couple of more. And then we can start cooking. That's the fun part. I just love cooking, especially if it's something like this that I can eat right away. So, all right, here we go. So, you don't have to do this intricate folding that I'm doing right now, right? You can also do the fan folding. I'm going to show you how that's done. So just thin out the edges a little bit. And then we're going to add in a little of this. And if you have some of those empanada kind of crimper, I'm sure, you've seen those in the store. Like, what do you do with those? They come in different sizes. You can also use them as well. And I use that when I'm lazy. Like, I don't want to fold. I don't want to take some time to do this. But this is like I said, it's like a fun friends and family kind of like a little party, right? You eat what you make. All right. Put that right there. Okay. So you can just do like a fan fold, like fold it in half like this, and it'll hold, right? You don't have to crimp them with a fork or anything like that. If you pinch them like this, it'll hold nicely for you. To chicken and dumplings, when do you add these dumplings? So if you're going to do the dough you can use for chicken and dumplings, right? You can cut them in square. You probably have to cut them about a quarter or a little thicker than 1/16 of an inch. So you can store them like this, your dumplings, and then you can set them aside and that works too. Okay, so I have these and I'm gonna actually just set them aside on my counter because we're gonna start cooking these right away. You see how that little hole right there? That's okay. You don't have to worry about that. I kind of got happy with my fingernail and put a little hole on it. So, all right. Clean this up a little bit. Now we're gonna get our stove out. Oops. Here we go. So in order for me to show you guys how to make it, I had to do an electric one. Usually I like gas because it's stronger and it's faster, but this one will work. So behind me is a pot of hot water. Oops. And we're gonna do a couple of stuff with it. So I'm boiling one so I can show you how to do it Szechuan style. And this one is the Lay's version of the dumplings. Okay. Chicken and dumplings, you can add it. You know how you have a thickener in there. So you boil this with the water and then you add in your shredded chicken if you want to. And then your thickener in there. This is not going to fall apart once you drop it into your broth. It's basically going to stay intact just because, it's when we put the hot water in there, it kind of put all the flour together with the glutinous rice flour. Okay, here we go. So we're cooking. So I have this kind of like on max sear, and then to this, we're gonna add a little bit of water, and I do that. Just make sure that it's warm enough. should attach. Okay, so with the lace dumplings, we need, I'm gonna set this one aside. All right, here we go. We need our cornstarch slurry, right? And over here, I have about half a cup of water, 1 tablespoon of cornstarch, and then 1 tablespoon of oil. So I'm gonna mix this together, kind of get the cornstarch all mixed up. Okay, so this is what's going to steam our dumplings when we put them in our pan. All right, just gonna stir it all up. So that's kind of somewhat warm. So in your little pan, you're gonna put in about a couple of tablespoons of oil, or less, you know, however you want to. We were just putting that in there so it crisps up the bottom of our dumplings. All right. So behind me here, my water is boiling. So I'm not gonna put salt in there because I'm gonna put in a lot of flavoring. So I'm gonna go ahead and add in my dumplings. All right. And then give it a little stir. And then once they start floating, that's when you know that your dumplings are done. Okay, so that's boiling. So this one is getting warm. Okay, so I usually test my oil with a chopstick. Just kind of put it on there. You see how it's, I don't know if you guys can see that from the top view, but it starts to sizzle because the moisture from the chopsticks starts to come out. All right, so now we're gonna add in our dumpling right on there. And actually kind of fan it out. We're gonna fan out our dumplings here. And this will give us a beautiful base. All right, here we go. There. So we're gonna let that pan fry for a bit until we get that really nice and beautiful crust. A little bit to hold the bottom part. This one's, I don't like that. You have to turn it around a little bit. Here we go. All right, so the longer it cooks, it's gonna brown more for you. It's gonna sizzle a little bit, but not too much, right? All right, so this one, you kind of have to be careful a little bit because we're gonna add water in hot area right here. Okay, so you're gonna take our little fish turner, and I like using this one because I can get right in the middle. Right, so that's beautiful. I want it to be nice, nicer and browner, but for the interest of time, this is what we're gonna use because I can't wait to show you the sauces. And it's all about the sauces, right? What's Asian dishes without the sauces? Do I have any recipe suggestions for Filipino food? I'm Filipino too, and I can really eat. There's a lot of Filipino food recipes out there, actually. And right now, we don't have anything on our website, but we will soon, hopefully. All right, so it's smoking a little bit. I'm going to check the bottom, make sure I'm not burning this thing. All right, so we're going to put 3/4 of the liquid, and you got to have your cover ready when you do this. So just dump it in. All right, and dumplings, because it's kind of slowly doing. So I only put 3/4 because we're gonna go back and you can see a lot of the holes that's in your dumpling lace. And then so when we put in the additional slurry that we left out, then that'll kind of cover it up a little bit. All right. So I'm gonna show you what that looks like. Yeah, it's looking really good. I know it doesn't look like there's a lot going on right now, but and so we're steaming our dumplings this way. All right, I'm gonna check on the one I'm boiling back here. So once it starts boiling, then you want to cook it for additional about 3 minutes. Once it starts floating, to make sure that the inside, the filling, and all that stuff gets cooked. Now, if you are cooking it frozen, it's gonna take a little bit longer, and that's okay. You can't overcook these dumplings. The dough won't fall apart on you, right? It's gonna be intact. It's still gonna be chewy, but you know, obviously you don't want to leave it in there for 10 minutes or so because that's really gonna mess it up. All right, so I'm gonna do a little quick peek. So that's steaming it. You see how it's changed the color a little bit? So this is what it looks like before. right? And then so now it has that beautiful opaque color, which we love. All right. I'm gonna turn this back off. My water in the boiling. Okay. So you want to keep this on here until all the liquid has been absorbed. Okay. We'll keep that close. I can see it on that little glass window. While the outside may brown quickly, how can we assure the filling is properly cooked? So it's all about temperature control, right? So if you feel like it's turning brown quicker than the inside, you can turn it down a little bit, and then once you steam it, and then you cover it, it'll cook the inside, and then you'll see once it's done. All right, so I'm gonna add a little bit more. You see how there's like little holes right here? I'm not happy with that, so I'm gonna add a little bit more of this because I want it to be nice and beautiful and glazy. So this is just filling in them, like whatever hole. All right, a little bit more right there. Okay. And then a little in the middle. There you go. Okay. That's good. That's going to take maybe a couple more minutes or so until the cornstarch slurry that we put in, cleaning out my area here, because once we start doing the next step, I want to make sure that it's nice and clean. Okay. All right. So while this is finishing up, which is going to take a while, I'm going to put her on like a medium. Kind of like a medium. All right, so while that's cleaning up, I'm going to show you guys what the boiled one looks like first. But before I do that, here's what we're going to do. In this little bowl, we're going to make our Sichuan dumpling sauce. This is like if you've been to a Chinese restaurant, sometimes they bring out a bowl of dumplings and it has this really nice, glossy, kind of a peppery looking sauce that's in there. And it's just amazing, right? And so that's what we're going to make in here. So in this little bowl, I'm going to add in salt and then a little bit of sugar. Okay. And then from there, we're going to add in our, I like to use the wine vinegar, a little bit of that. Okay. And this is up to taste. So however you want it. You can add more, you can add little. If you can't have sugar, then you can use other sweetener as well, like agave syrup too. All right, so I'm going to put in a little bit of sesame oil. And then from there, we're going to add in a little bit of soy sauce, about a couple of tablespoons, right? All right, here we go. Soy sauce. Okay, and then I'm going to add about hot water or the sauce from your boiling pan, but I'm going to put in just a little bit of this. Okay. Aromatics later on. Okay, so that's that. Just get that mixing. This is how we love eating our dumplings too, because it's so easy. We make a little buffet out of it. Okay. All right, so let's check her out. Looking really good. All right. Okay. So it's starting to come together. I know got multiple. This is what, we're cooking, right? We're cooking live, and I want to show you guys the two different ways that we make our dumplings in. I'm showing you the two different ways of my favorite dumpling recipe. And how to make them, because once you make them once, you're gonna have a ton of them in your freezer because you're gonna be so addicted to it. Are the cook times listed or fresh? And I will update that. So for frozen, like I said, once it starts to float, then you want to cook it additional 3 minutes. For fresh, it is just, I've always made it with a slurry, and then so once the slurry starts, evaporating or getting crunchy, that's when I know, it's done. but you can cut into one too if you want. And it's hard. Usually it's about, I would say 5 to 8 minutes, right? Just because that's just all right, just 5 to 8 minutes. But it all depends on how thick your filling is. Like some people put in a lot more filling in their dumpling, and so it's going to take a little longer. But the one that I have right here, this is going to take about 8 to 10 minutes, right? It looks like the whole process is going to take a little bit longer. So this one is happening really quickly here. And then you guys can, I don't know if you guys can see the top view. I can move my stove again, but it has that nice, it's starting to kind of lift up from, you know, from the pan. You see that? And that's why we call lace dumplings, because it is just so gorgeous and so pretty. So this is not done yet because on the edges, there's still a little bit of sticky, but I can see that the bottom is golden brown. So this dumplings is cooked, right, because of the steam. And then so, you know, like I said, 5 to 8 or sometimes 10 minutes, you can see. And you really can't overcook these dumplings. I haven't had any issue with them. So, and some people kind of deep fry them as well, right? When you get them at the Asian store, it's deep fried. To my back burner, so it finishes cooking. Yeah, I'm gonna set that on low. All right, so I can start cooking this guy. You know what? Hang on. I will need. I'm looking for something. I'm gonna need another pan. Hang on. Okay. All right, sorry about that. This is a convection one. So I'm going to put in the pan right here. And then, so we're going to use our boiled dumplings. We're cooking the dumplings now, the boiled dumplings. So we put in our sugar, our soy sauce, sesame oil, and our salt, and then a little bit of water. And then now we're going to add in the dumplings. And then this is warming up. What's happening is we're gonna have to warm up about 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil, and then we're gonna pour it right on top of our kind of boiled dumpling. So this is what that looks like. So to this, we're gonna add in our aromatics, right? But I don't wanna do that until this one is like really warm. All right, so I'm gonna put in 1 tablespoon of oil. And you want to hit this up until it's really, really hot. So what's happening is instead of us cooking the aromatics, like the garlic and the green onions and stuff like that, we're going to pour this oil right on top of them. All right. So we put it in until it starts to glisten a little bit. So I use gochugaru. I know it's kind of strange, but it is basically, and I have it here, Korean hot pepper powder. And it's milder. And then this is what I use for my chili oil, okay? And that's a different class. This looks like its oil is steaming already. So it's milder. This is what they use for kimchi. It has milder flavor to it. So that's what we have here. I put about 1 tablespoon. And then on here, we also have Sichuan peppercorn. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Sichuan peppercorn. It's also called dried kikui ash. And this is right here. And this is what gives the Sichuan dishes like numbing in the tongue, right? Some people love it. Some people don't because it's just a different sensation. But so you don't have to put this in your sauce if you don't want to. I love it just because it just, I'm a foodie, obviously. And it gives you really nice kind of like a different layer of flavor. Okay, so this is what it looks like. It looks like black peppercorn that's bloomed, right? And it's very aromatic. Like, it's like flowery, and it has that nice savory kind of smell to it as well. You can't mistake in Sichuan peppercorn. So because when you smell it, you're like, what is that? Yeah, there's something about that. All right, so we have a little bit of that on here. We have some of this beautiful toasted sesame seeds. We have about 1 teaspoon, that's all I put in here, of the chopped garlic. It's about 2 to 3 cloves. And then I have some thinly sliced scallions. And then I also have some cilantro. So any of these, if you don't want or don't like cilantro, you don't have to add it in. All right, so that's good. So on here, I'm going to add, this is where the magic happens. I'm going to add the pepper, the Szechuan and the pepper mixture right in the middle, right there. Okay. And then I'm going to take my sesame seed and just kind of sprinkle it on the sides. All right. Okay. All right. And then I'm going to take my garlic and then just kind of put it right in the middle. Okay. So I'm kind of building a top here. I'm going to put that in. And then I'm going to take my green onions and sprinkle that. Okay. And then your cilantro. You can just do the leaves if you want, or you can do the whole thing. So this is really yummy. I'm just gonna scatter that all over. It's beautiful. All right, so I've got my really hot oil right here. So this is something you have to be very, very careful of. But it's actually a show, right? when you see people do this, it's like amazing. What are they doing? All right, so I'm gonna pour this in. I don't know if you guys can see that. I'm gonna pour this in right on top of that garlic and chili oil. And so you're immediately met with that beautiful aroma. So good. All right, so that's that. Korean, where do you get the Korean hot chili powder that is gluten-free? It's usually in the Asian grocery store as well. How long? All right, so this is our Szechuan. I don't know if you guys can see that. I mean, it's just yummy. It's garlicky. It's spicy. It has the beautiful sesame flavor in it. And this is how we serve it at home. And so that's one. And then the other one is the lace, right? You can slide it into your plate like that. Okay. And that's the lace. And then so this, guys, you guys, it's just beautiful in itself. You can take it apart, break it apart, and then it's a little crunch over there. It's really nice action going on. And then it's got that nice kind of like golden brown on the bottom of it, which is just beautiful, beautiful. All right, so this, I'm gonna try this because I haven't had anything today. I'm gonna show you guys what it looks like inside. And this one we made ahead of time. This one had, I think it was chives that's inside and shrimp. Okay, so. That's good. Yeah. Yeah, they're telling me to wrap up. I have so much I gotta tell you, but it's beautiful. Oh, it is good. It's got the freshness from the vinegar, saltiness from the soy sauce. It has the garlic, and I can taste the peppers coating my mouth, and the Szechuan pepper too. It's a good balance. It has a little sweetness to it from the sugar that we added in. But this is so exciting. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you have any question, go to our booth, and then you can ask us questions there as well. I'll be online again live tomorrow, and tomorrow we'll be baking. So today's savory, tomorrow is sweet. We're doing monkey bread and also cinnamon rolls that you will not believe are gluten-free. So thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you to Nourished staff for moderating today and for all of their hard work so that I get to share this wonderful meal and wonderful, amazing treats with you guys. So I will see you hopefully next year or tomorrow.